Good morning, campers, and happy Saturday. I'm very excited to be joined, but I'm Joe Carducci, by the way, from my backyard with my dog. And I'm very excited to be joined on this cloudy and cool Saturday by my friends, Julie Roginski, author of Salty Politics on Substack, which, by the way, was ahead of some of our contemporaries this week on some Epstein-Donald Trump connection stories. So please go to Salty Politics and check that out. And I'll just leave that commentary.
Oh,
right.
I'm happy to talk about it once we get going, but go ahead.
Oh, okay. So we'll just stick a pin in that.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we have the beautiful Tara Setmayer, who was already on TV this morning on MSNBC
I'm wired.
9 a.m., 8 a.m.? Yeah. What time
was the
was
7 o'clock hour?
It was at 7 a.m., like live at 7, which meant I had to be up an hour at least earlier so that I could like wake up, put my face on, and like roll out of bed. And so, yes, I'm on my third cup of coffee. Marcel and I have already been to yard sales already and home.
What?
Oh yeah, because
Wow.
6 a.m.
Dear God. Okay.
No,
Well,
I rolled out of bed like half an hour ago, but go,
Yeah.
keep going.
and of course, Seneca Project co-founder and the beautiful In Transit, Michelle Kinney. We have something incredible that Michelle made that we're not going to talk about yet. But friends, I just want you to prepare. I will be ugly crying at least once on this show today, and I assume that you will too. And if that's the squirrel that's been eating my tomatoes, I might have to go off camera. So happy Saturday, guys! And what's going on?
This squirrel's been like your like Caddyshack.
Yeah.
What's it called? Not Who's the guy?
I'm all right. Every one of my tomatoes that's come in, he takes a bite, and then
And
then
then they leave
back.
it. And then they leave it. They're
Yes.
little fuckers.
They are.
I love squirrels. We have plenty of them, except when they decide to eat all the damn bird seed and eat our tomatoes. The struggle is real. Joe and I grow tomatoes in the summer. When I'm in New Jersey in the spring, I get Jersey tomato plants and bring them back to my house in Virginia and plant them because I refuse to eat anything but Jersey tomatoes in the summer because it's a long standing tradition. I had a garden growing up. My grandfather had a huge garden in our backyard and I would tend to it with him in the summer. It was a whole thing. It's a tradition in our family. And what do I do? I forget to fence the tomatoes and protect them from the damn squirrels because I feel bad. And I'll tell you why. Because when we lived back in Jersey, we did do that. We put netting around our tomato plants, and we killed a chipmunk. I woke up one morning to a chipmunk dead, caught netting, and I felt terrible. And I said, oh my God, I'm never putting this stupid netting up again because I don't want to be a chipmunk murderer again. And so ever since then,
they're the cutest.
They are the cutest things. Like our chipmunks would take, they were so bold. They would take peanuts from my hand. And so I was devastated. So that was like 10 years ago. So we don't put any netting around our, stuff around our tomatoes, and it leaves them susceptible to the stupid squirrels coming and the little bastards that you said, they take a nibble. Yes. And then they leave it.
And then they come back. They come back and take another nibble. Then they leave me this carnage. It's like, friend, this is just, you know what it's like? It's like a horse head in your bed. Knock me off.
It's true.
I got the message, okay? But this is my turf. I'm going to put little pencils up and you have to jump over them.
I'm telling you, I don't know what to do. I feel bad.
I know.
But at least eat the whole thing. Don't take a little nibble and then leave it.
Yeah.
That's the worst part about it. And they don't need it because we have like a freaking commune we have a welfare state for our birds and our squirrels here. They're so fat. Our squirrels are so chubby that they do the splur, whatever that's called, on the railing because they're so fat and lazy when they're hot in summer.
Yeah.
Well, at least you guys don't live in New York City where you have mice in your apartment.
Been there.
This is true.
Don't miss that. I
don't care what kind of apartment you have, you will have mice in it because that's what happens in New York. And
Michelle knows.
Unless you have a cat. Well, okay, we've lived in our building for, 8-9 years or something like that. And I've only seen a mouse a couple times because we have 2 cats. The first time I walked out into the hallway and one of my cats had a mouse in
Oh.
its mouth.
I feel like I knew
Horrified.
you then. I feel like I
Yes,
knew you then.
yes, this was just a couple years ago. Like we went a
Yeah.
really long time with no mice. And so I see Sterling has it in his mouth, and then he drops it, starts batting it around. I'm like, oh my god, oh my god! So I run back into my bedroom and close the door because I'm terrified of I can't deal with
Me
it.
too.
So then I eventually make my way. I run down. I grab my super. My super comes up with like the caulk and like the expanding foam,
Yeah.
and he goes, my guess, he's like, that mouse took the wrong turn, ended up in the wrong apartment, and he's not going to come back. But then a couple years later, this was very recently, Joe, my husband, woke up and he's like, I think that there's a mouse, like a dead mouse in the hallway. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm 99% sure it's Sterling, was one of my cats. He must have caught a mouse, ripped it apart. There was a head. There was a head. There was a head in one part, and then the body.
I'm so sorry I went down this road. Let's change the subject.
But I will
immediately.
But my super came back up again with the expanding foam and filled in all the holes in my radiator and everything like that, and haven't seen one since. So, to Julie's point, I will agree, and I do live in an old building, so maybe that makes things what it is. But get cats if you're not allergic to them. And
I have a story that combines both of these though, mice and squirrels. And this is stay tuned, okay? Because real fast, so quick. So my son was a baby, and I'm at Target, and my now ex-husband calls me, and he said, "There's a giant rat under the stove. You need to get like a rat trap or something." I'm like, "Oh, what? No. A giant rat under the stove?"
Oh no,
my baby son, there's a rat in my house. I'm like, I'm going through Target. I'm trying to find whatever. I'm like, was there a humane way to kill this? There's a rat. So I'm like, I have an idea. Turn on the oven and it'll scare the rat out, and then you can catch it. So this
it'll cook the rat.
My God.
That's what happened with one of my mice, which was a whole different story.
Oh no. Oh God.
I get home, and needless to say, it was not a rat. I look under the stove, like, I don't know where I got these balls from. I look under the stove and I'm like, that's not a rat. It's a baby squirrel. And it was this tiny, absolutely adorable, like cartoon baby squirrel. We used to have flying squirrels that would nest in our crawl space, and it fell through something. I don't know. I live in an old house, and then got itself under my stove, and then the warmth of the stove put it to sleep. So it was comfortable. And I called animal control. This guy shows up after dealing with a skunk, and he's covered in skunk musk and leaning against my wall, and he asked to hold my baby son, and I'm like, no. But anyway,
what?
No,
can I interrupt for 1 second to just say something about me that I don't think you guys know? This is like a very weird thing about me. I love the smell of skunk.
I do too.
What?
We talked about this, Tara. I love the smell of skunk.
Me too. I do too.
Spray directly.
I have never heard this in my whole life.
Yep.
I don't know if we can be friends anymore. I don't know.
I talked about this. Where were we? I feel like I was talking to one of you, but I don't know. Recently, Marcel and I, because we live like kind of in a wooded area, and so every in the summer you're gonna smell a skunk occasionally, and sometimes I'm like, oh, I like that smell. But I, like you said, not the direct, like, I don't want it in the house kind of smell. Like that happened too. We had a door open and something happened with a skunk and a fox probably. And then the whole house reeked. And I was like, that's too much. But like just like gasoline.
I like gasoline.
Gas.
I don't like
I like that smell. So I like that smell.
Weird.
But skunk is a bridge too far for me.
I don't like gas.
Interestingly,
I don't like the smell of pot, which people think smells like skunk, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
No.
You know what my kids think pot? Do you know what my kids call the smell of pot?
What?
Yankee Stadium. They call it. They have called it Yankee Stadium since they were little. It is what they think Yankee Stadium smells.
So it's like a happy memory for them.
Yes.
Oh my God. I don't
stoned in like the next 5 minutes because they love this Yankee Stadium and they associate Yankee Stadium with pot.
But if they smell pot, it's not a Yankee Stadium. They go, Yankee Stadium.
That is hysterical. Sign of the times, right? Like that's like, well, I guess what's old is new, because I guess that was the same back in the 60s and 70s, right? I mean, I'm not into pot. I don't smoke it. For people who do, God bless. But like,
It's It's not my
No.
bag. But
That's
wait,
funny.
since we're talking about stadiums, we have to. Everybody on the planet
Oh.
is talking about
I don't
Coldplay.
like the story. I don't like the story. I think there are kids involved.
I know,
And
but like what I
think it's
want to talk about, like what does this indicate about what is going on in society that you guys know, people in my town who don't ever talk about this stuff. Or like, did you see the Coldplay thing? Did you see the Coldplay? It's
I don't like it.
literally everywhere. All right, so what are your thoughts on it then?
I think it's mean. I don't like to talk about it. I think there are real people involved and real lives destroyed and real children who are seeing their parents splayed up there like a joke for everybody. And as much as this is making everybody crack up, like, you know what? People in glass houses, because I bet you some of the people cracking up probably weren't particularly ethical in their own relationships all the time. So I would just say that I don't even want to talk about, I mean, we could talk about it, but I personally don't want to post any memes. I don't want to, even the Epstein Trump meme, which I thought was kind of funny and clever. Don't even want to go down that road because this man, I don't know about the woman, but he's got kids and those kids have to go to school now and have everybody, and the kids are little and have everybody on earth make fun of their dad. And I don't like it.
I have strong feelings about this.
Okay.
Don't fuck around on your family and risk that happening to your children and being so blatant and going to a Coldplay concert where you can get caught and then you won't have to deal with it.
But the
I'm
kids
sorry.
didn't deserve it. The kids didn't deserve it. That's the
They
difference.
don't. I'm not saying that people, but in this day and age, people where you are, privacy is gone. You are going to have an affair that blatant. The bottom line is don't fuck around on your family. And then, he wasn't thinking about his kids when he was screwing around on his family or when he took his paramour to a Coldplay concert. I think we cannot take the responsibility away from the cheating husband. It's no, I'm sorry. Don't do it. Don't do it because he wasn't thinking about his family when he was fucking his paramour.
You know what? I would just simply say I don't get judgy about this stuff because
I do.
You never know what happens in anybody's relationships.
Don't do it in public if you have children.
I don't know.
He wasn't thinking about his kids then. If it's that bad, then get divorced or don't do your dirty business in public where it's possible for your children to find out. I have no tolerance.
Why do you guys think this blew up the way it did though? Why there are lots of people who cheat on lots of people. There are people who've been caught whatever on a
because Chris Martin made a joke about it, and I bet you because one out of two marriages probably have situations like this happen. I'm totally making a statistic up. Maybe it's 1 out of 10. I don't know. But I think a lot of people are like, holy shit, there but for the grace of God and all of that. And I think, I don't know. I think it's mean. I think we should go back to making fun of Donald Trump writing love letters to Jeffrey Epstein about, how they have enigmas in common.
But by the way, I was watching Smerconish right before this, and Smerconish did a poll about whether he thinks that even that letter will ever surface, if it exists at all. And a lot of people said they don't even think that it exists. They don't think that Donald Trump wrote that. Like there's this whole big thing about whether or not Trump would ever use the word enigma. We have seen him use the word enigma. He used the word enigma in reference to Ben Carson. I don't think that's the way Donald Trump talks, but we also know that Donald Trump does do this weird fantasy thing when he does Honey, those little stories, those vignettes about him and Melania. He does do these muses about fantastical things that didn't happen. But let's pivot to that then. If you guys don't want to talk, I mean, honestly, that's okay with me. I don't know if everybody else.
No, I mean it's fine. I mean,
let's pivot to that. Let's pivot
Saturday
to
morning. So
Yeah.
Let's pivot Saturday morning. We got cat butt.
We did early cat butt. Rafi showed up early. He's right. He's literally right here on my lap, ready to go. It's all good.
Yeah, but let's talk about this. What do you think about this?
The letter will appear because there's no way in hell. And I think you guys know in my real life, I have many hats that I wear, but one of them is I do crisis comms. And a lot of times I do support of litigation, and you will never have a story like that printed in the Washington Post or the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times or any Bloomberg, any of these places ever, unless you, especially when it involves something of this magnitude, unless you have the primary source that you can provide. It's not that somebody simply said, I heard there's a letter. They have the whole notebook. I want to go further. There's no way that it's just a photocopy of a letter.
Mhm.
They have the whole notebook, which is why Lex Wexner and whoever else was in it were like, I don't remember what I wrote, because they know full well that they have the whole notebook. And I think what's about to happen is, well, I think what did happen is that Trump called Murdoch, Rupert Murdoch, who the last thing he wants to do is get involved in this shit show. And Murdoch, who is not checked out on the business, but probably checked out on the day-to-day running of stories, called Emma Tucker, who's a very long time employee, who's now the editorial executive editor of the Wall Street Journal. And he said to her, do you have this locked up? Do you have this dead to rights? Because this guy sue the hell out of us.
Yep.
And Emma Tucker said, sir, in this case, she probably did call him sir. It's not a Donald Trump sir, but a real
sir.
she said,
Sir.
Rupert. Yeah. Rupert, here it is. And that's when Rupert Murdoch, who's at heart a newspaper man, said, go ahead.
Yep.
Mhm.
And once it exists, yes, if I were Trump, I wouldn't screw around too much, because the next story to drop and shoot to drop will be the publication of this whole thing.
Mhm.
And I want to be very clear about something, because I feel like Trump is gaslighting again his people. But as you know, I'm not a lawyer, but I'm married to a very good one. And he is a federal criminal defense attorney. So he spends a lot of time around federal grand juries. And here is what he told me. And he's right down here. I could pull him in for this if he is so amenable. But here's what he told me. The only thing you're going to find in that grand jury testimony, if it is ever released, which P.S., no judge will ever sign off on releasing it, and they know it.
Mhm.
They're going to blame this on the court and say, oh, we want it to be transparent, but here it is, an unelected judge again.
Exactly.
By the way, the judge in the Epstein case, if this is the judge to whom it's going to go, is a Clinton appointee. So you can guess how it's going to go.
Yeah.
Oh, here's this judge protecting his buddy Bill Clinton, who appointed him. So let's just get ready for that. But what the only thing you're going to find in that grand jury testimony, most likely, and I know nobody's seen it obviously, but if that were ever to be released, is, as my husband explained to me, a case agent who is typically an FBI agent who sat down before the grand jury and told the grand jury, here's what happened. He was like the narrator. And in a case of this magnitude, they might have, and what happened was, there were girls, young girls, who were trafficked to Jeffrey Epstein or Ghislaine Maxwell, depending on who the grand jury was looking to indict. It was either Epstein or Maxwell. It wasn't Trump. It wasn't Clinton. It wasn't the man on the moon. It was only one of two people who were looking to get indicted. It was either the Epstein grand jury or the Maxwell grand jury. If it's the Epstein grand jury, the narration would have been Jeffrey Epstein trafficked young girls to Jeffrey Epstein. Basically, Jeffrey Epstein slept with young girls. And here are 2 or 3 or 10 or 12 or however of these young girls / now women who will tell you what happened. And the question would have been, girl number one, whatever her name is, now woman number one, did you have sex with Jeffrey Epstein when you were 14 years old? Yes, I did. Okay, thank you very much. The grand jury says we have enough to indict. And that's what is going to be in those transcripts. Nothing about anybody else, because again, nobody else was looking to get indicted. Just Jeffrey Epstein. It wasn't like they were going to say, oh, and tell me about Donald Trump and tell me about John Smith. And that's never going to be released. What should be released, because none of it is bound by grand jury confidentiality, what Pam Bondi can release today is all the evidence that they prepared in anticipation of going to trial against Jeffrey Epstein, which they would have prepared before indicting him. So I think they're called 302s, the interviews, the witness interviews.
Yes.
Did you have
302s.
Jeffrey Epstein? Yes, I did. Did Jeffrey Epstein traffic you to somebody? Yes, he did. To whom did Jeffrey Epstein traffic you? Well, you know what? It was A, B, C, D, Donald Trump, E, F, G, right? All of that, the recordings, the wiretap, they had Maxwell's phone wiretap for a long time. All of that, the photographs, the videos, the notebook that the Wall Street Journal clearly has, which is sitting on Pam Bondi's desk, I guarantee you, because that's why Pam Bondi would not respond as to whether that notebook existed, because if it had not existed, she would have said there is no notebook, but she didn't say that.
Which I just want to interject just just really quick, is that I don't know that people are talking about this enough, that Pam Bondi was the Attorney General of the state of Florida when this investigation first began. Like, she is in at the basement. Like, she's been in this for a long time, well before she was Attorney General of the United States. So, you know, she's deep in this too. So anyways, keep
She
going,
didn't
Julie.
prosecute him. She didn't prosecute him, right? When she was Attorney General?
Well, no,
That is correct. When
He
she
did
was
not.
AG of Florida, she had the opportunity to and did not. And Alex Acosta, who actually did, and he's the one that backed off and like did this like, you know, little bitty deal with him and got scared to go any further, because back then Epstein had a killer legal team. It was like Dershowitz and a bunch of other people, and Alex Acosta, guess what, ended up becoming Trump's labor secretary.
Yeah.
It's worse, you guys. It's worse than that. The state. This is before Bondi was the Attorney General. This is going back
2007, right? Or further back than that.
further back. I think maybe, I don't know. But the point is, the state was going to prosecute. Acosta Bigfoots the state and says, we're going to take this case over, and cuts a non-prosecution deal with Epstein, but not just Epstein. This non-prosecution deal is also with 4 named co-conspirators whose names we don't know, but Acosta does, and other potential unnamed co-conspirators. So they have this deal from Acosta. Now, according to my husband, there's nothing to prevent anybody from prosecuting them now. It's not like you have immunity forever. They could be.
There's no statute of limitations, right, on this?
I don't know. It's a good question on federal. I don't know on sex trafficking. It's not clear, but it doesn't matter because this is the court of public opinion now. It's not the court of law.
Right, of course. Nothing's ever happening at a federal level now.
But even if so, nobody's prosecuting Donald Trump. Let's
Right.
all here. We've learned that lesson.
Yeah.
But the point is, there are 4 named co-conspirators that Acosta gave immunity to, and prospective potential other co-conspirators who, should they arise. Now, who were these 4 named co-conspirators? Why is nobody asking that question? Who are they? And by the way, let me just say this as a lifelong Democrat who really loved Bill Clinton's presidency, because I'm not in a cult. If Bill Clinton's one of them, let it all come out.
Yeah.
I don't care who it is.
Burn it down. Burn it down.
Burn it down. Burn it down.
It's far enough away too that it's like, even if it did come out, that people would be like, well, that was 30 years ago. Bill Clinton hasn't been president. Keep it moving. Whatever. You know what I mean? If it was like Obama or Biden or something, it'd be a little worse.
If it's Obama or Biden, let it all come out too.
I'm not saying don't let it come out. I'm saying that the political fallout.
Yeah.
If Biden or Obama
it wouldn't be politically damaging
much greater
to the
than
party.
it would be if it's Bill Clinton.
Right.
Well,
But the part,
and sorry, I
ahead,
was just
Joe.
going to say, I was going to say that Bill Clinton, I mean, I was reading, like, I think it was during the 2020 election, or maybe it was 2024. I don't remember. But like, when Bill Clinton was out helping with the campaign and like campaigning, like, the Gen Z babies didn't know who he was. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, that's how far removed it is.
Right. Yeah. So I think that's why Democrats feel comfortable taking the position of let it all out. Let it all out. If whoever's in there from back then, most people aren't going to remember. It was a long time ago. We can disown them now. The fallout, if God forbid there was anybody in there that was, in Democratic leadership, it's old news, so they could keep it moving, as opposed to the current sitting president of the United States. A little bit more problematic.
Did you guys see the story about how Pam Bondi put pressure on the FBI to utilize 1,000 agents to scour through 100,000 pages of Epstein-related files? They were working in 24-hour shifts so that they could flag and I don't know what else, but flag and scrub, flag and remove, flag anything that mentioned Donald Trump. Like this, how is this not a giant red burning flag of what the fuckery? Like,
because they expect it, right? It should be. Yeah. It should be. Why? I mean, I understand that CNN and MSNBC are covering this now wall to wall, but this part of it should be breaking news at the top of the hour, because it feeds into the cover up.
Yeah.
It feeds into it. Like the whole reason why Pam Bondi's not going anywhere, is frustrated as Trump is with her, is because this is exactly why she was chosen.
Yep.
She will do and say and whatever to cover for Trump. That's why Kash Patel is FBI director. That's why Dan Bongino was chosen, except even he was like, well, hold on a second, because he has a lot of financial interest here in making sure that his reputation doesn't get screwed up. But Pam Bondi, that's what she's there for.
Yeah.
And and people should know that. They should know that that Pam Bondi and Kash Patel, this is what they're using the FBI resources to do. And every senator that voted for those two should be asked, are you comfortable with the fact that you voted to put these people in these positions, very important ones, and this is how they're using taxpayer money and resources instead of going after, I don't know, terrorists and real criminals? They're too busy working as Donald Trump's personal.
It's so hilarious is if you showed up at my house right now and you said, hey, I'm going to dig up your backyard because we think there's a dead body in your backyard, right? If I have nothing to hide, I'd be like, go right ahead. Great, go for it. If I was like, don't ever talk about my backyard, don't ever talk about any dead body in my backyard, I forbid you from talking about it. I
don't even have a backyard.
What backyard? I don't have a backyard. How dare you? Cut off all conversation about the backyard.
Obama put my backyard in.
Wouldn't you suddenly be like, what does Julie possibly have to hide?
And you're an asshole. You're stupid for even asking about my backyard that you see is back there and that I have and that I bragged about how great it is and that I'm going to show it to everyone. But you're the asshole for saying you want to come now and look at
and by the way, although I love you ladies and I've been doing a show with you all this time and we're all really good friends, you're all dead to me and you're weaklings for even asking about my backyard. And I don't want to hear from you again.
You invited us to come and see.
You gave us binders of blacked out pictures of your backyard that we posed with. But that's okay because give me 5 seconds and I will pivot to Julie doesn't have a backyard. I don't want to
and also and the 4,100 transactions between the Trump organization and Jeffrey Epstein, one of Jeffrey Epstein's bank accounts that totaled over $1 billion. And there's hundreds of millions of more dollars of transactions through other banks. Like that's the other part of this.
I don't know that it was the Trump organization. I think it was during the Trump administration. I don't think it was directly from the Trump organization to Epstein. It was, I'm not sure. I think that I'm unclear
know about the wire.
It was $1.5 billion, and I don't think the Trump organization deals in that level of. They were like,
I'm gonna find
for that.
It was flagged in the Treasury Department for those SARs, right? Those like the secret activity, suspicious activity reports that people learned about because of the Hunter Biden situation. They were looking at those, and like SARs are super, super, super secret, and they're controlled by a very small division inside the Treasury Department to keep it in a close knit so that it doesn't, in case there is nothing there. So it's suspicious activity reports, and usually those lead to an investigation. So what happened to that? I think that was because there were a lot.
Yeah. And now they're trying to distract us, like of course they are, with this Obama bullshit that Tulsi Gabbard, Russian asset, Tulsi Gabbard all of a sudden just randomly, just out of the blue, oh look, there's proof the Department of Justice has that Obama lied about Russian involvement in the 2016 election. And now now the question is whether or not they're going to put him in handcuffs, because that'll lead to, civil unrest or not. This is where we're at. Guys, remind me. I'm so sorry. I can't remember. Who was the president in 2016 and 2017? Whose Department of Justice was it? Why on earth wouldn't Mr. Grievance himself have carted Barack Obama in front of the entire country and put him on trial if he had proof that he did this to try and hurt him electorally? Like now we have proof.
It's so absurd. And this morning,
Vince Foster is next, you guys. That's what's happening.
I know you've been calling it. Listen, I think the only reason why we're not going to hear about Vince Foster is because the majority of the MAGA people probably don't even remember that. And so it's too far. Those of us who are like the political
Yeah.
Gurus have been around for a long time. We remember the Vince Foster thing, which was one of the first conspiracy theories of this era. But it's too far back for them. But if we hear about Vince Foster or like Rose Law Firm, I swear to God.
I mean, they're going to put Hillary in handcuffs for that one now.
By the way, Jessica Morgan, who said Bill Barr has been very quiet for more reasons than you might think. So here's the funny thing about Jeffrey Epstein. And if you live in New York City, you kind of know the people I'm talking about. Jeffrey Epstein he did not graduate college. He ended up teaching somehow at the Dalton School. The Dalton School, he's a math teacher at the Dalton School. Dalton is one of the elite private schools in New York. Anderson Cooper went there. A lot of really affluent, he's a Vanderbilt, a lot of really affluent people's children go to Dalton. The headmaster of Dalton at the time was Bill Barr's father.
Mm-hmm.
And he's the one who hired Jeffrey Epstein. Now, I have a couple of questions about that. And I don't know if Bill Barr's father is still alive. I don't think he is, but maybe he is. One is, how does somebody who's not a college graduate get a job teaching at an elite private school? I have a son who goes to a competitor of Dalton's, and I can tell you half the teachers there are PhDs. You don't get a job teaching high school if you don't have a college degree. One. Two, because they try to model what you should get a college degree and do with your life. They don't like to show people there are options of not going to college. Two,
right,
is Jeffrey Epstein didn't just wake up one day being into little girls, into 14, 15-year-old girls. How many NDAs are there with Dalton families related to behavior? And was Bill Barr's father, as the headmaster there, the one to sign those NDAs? That I suspect, and I have no evidence to back this up, that the answer probably is yes. Because if you're going to sue the Dalton school, ultimately it's the head of the school who has to be a part of that. And effectively, so I have no evidence of this, obviously, because there are probably NDAs, but it stands to reason that Jeffrey Epstein didn't just wake up one day and start sleeping with 14-year-old girls when he became a billionaire. You either have a proclivity for that kind of behavior or you don't. Why would you be teaching at a private school? Why would you be teaching in a school at all? Right?
Yeah.
Unless you want ready access to young girls.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I have so many friends at Dalton. I have great affection for that school. I'm not suggesting that anything wrong happened. I'm just asking questions about it. And it's fascinating that the headmaster at the time who brought him on and enabled him was Bill Barr's father.
Well, I'm reading this article in the New York Times from 2019. It says 8 former students who attended the prestigious school during Mr. Epstein's short tenure said that his conduct with teenage girls had left an impression that had lingered for decades. One former student recalled him showing up at a party where students were drinking, while most remembered his persistent attention on the girls in the hallways and in the classrooms. So
there's more to it than that, and I can guarantee you that, and by the way, the New York, there's a law that passed in New York recently that allows you a much longer look back to sue civilly for sexual assault and misconduct.
Really? I didn't know.
Yep. And it's called the Adult Survivors Act. And I don't know if you can sue. I don't know if you can sue a dead man. Obviously, you can't. You could probably sue his estate if there's any estate left. But I don't know if you could sue Dalton. I don't know. I mean, look, this all happened on the. If a priest molests you, you sue the Catholic Church. You don't just sue the priest, right? And I know in situations like this, if you are harassed by your boss at work, you have to sue your boss. You sue the company. So I assume if you are harassed by Mr. Epstein, the math teacher, you're going to not just sue Mr. Epstein's estate. You're also going to sue the school. I don't know. And all of this would have been signed with an NDA. And it's NDA to death, and I can talk about that for the rest of my life, and we'll never know about it unless somebody wants to break their NDA, which if you are one of those people, go ahead and break it, because I promise you the Dalton School and the estate are not going to come after you for breaking it. PR ramifications of coming after you for speaking your truth about a dead sex predator are much worse than anything that they're going to accuse you of doing.
The thing is that at the end of the day, about this fucking horrible story is that we do need accountability, right? Like this was horrific, and despite what the cult is now saying, because they're twisting themselves into pretzels to like say that he was not at all a sexual predator, that all of this was manufactured, whatever they want to fucking say. We know what happened. We know some of what happened. We know a lot of what happened, and no one has really faced accountability here. And they are all still, there's layers. It's like a 9-layer dip of protection for bad people who did bad things. And one of them is dead, and we are missing 3 minutes of video footage of what happened. Fuck that night. That's another thing. They passed off this edited video and said it was raw. But the other one is in a prison cell, not saying a word. And that's it. That's it. All those 4 people who got immunity that were covered, all the names that might be on a list or somewhere else, all of the people that these women, when girls were trafficked to, have just gotten away with all of this. And all of the enablers who let them get away with all of it, they've gotten away with all of it. And now we have someone who was admittedly his closest friend for many, many years. Someone, I believe Don Jr. said they called Uncle Jeff, right? 7 times on his airplane. Jeffrey Epstein says that's the first time he ever stooped Melania. You know, there's still no accountability, and MAGA didn't really want accountability. What they wanted was this salacious Democratic names that they could hang, you know, for being pedophiles, but we still need accountability and consequences for the people who perpetrated these horrific acts. But we still need accountability and consequences for the people who perpetrated these horrific acts. Am I echoing for you guys?
Yeah, you were for a second, but not anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Sorry about that. But like that's what bothers me about all of this is it's being turned into something that is just like fodder for conspiracy theorists and convenient political clips. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, look, there are so many tentacles to this story that touch a lot of people that are in Donald Trump's orbit, not just Trump. There's a lot there. The tentacles extend to a lot of places, which is why they cannot get control of the story. They just can't. And because every time there's like another aspect of this where something is bubbling up and people are coming out of the woodwork now again. There was a woman who was on CNN that said she was Jeffrey Epstein's girlfriend and that Donald Trump groped her in front of him in Trump Tower back when she was a swimsuit model or Sports Illustrated.
Yes, I know the story.
Right? Yeah. She came back out again. She's like, she told her story before. I was polygraphed, but nobody wanted to listen to me. And, you know, it looked like they set it up because they were like kind of both getting off on it. And then Jeffrey Epstein got mad because she didn't do anything about it. It was like a weird game. Yeah. So, but she said she felt like clearly this was something that they felt very comfortable doing, just like how Trump was mishandling, you know, fondling her in front of him. Then you have the story of the Trump casino guy in Atlantic City saying that, you know, it was well known that Epstein would bring girls into the hotel in Atlantic City. And one time the gaming commissioners were there because they suspected that these girls were underage, and underage there meant 21. They weren't allowed to be on the casino floor. And that one of the girls they knew for a fact was 19 because one of the gaming commissioners was a tennis fan and she was a tennis player and knew that she was 19. Like all of these stories are bubbling up again because now it's so far out. People are like, well, it's coming back. I'm going to try. But then there's also a lot of people that may not come out again because they're scared to death of what happens if they say something. I mean, it's crazy.
It's just lies upon lies and lying a bunch and trying to cover up your own lies over one thing is maybe manageable for one of these people, but there's so many incidents, there's so many people, there's so many years, there's so many witnesses that it's like there is no way that they are ever going to be able to stop this.
Let's go back also, Michelle, to Donald Trump and his history with young girls, which I will just say now, the Midas Touch did something on it yesterday. Yeah. Thank you so much, Midas Touch, from my Substack. I did something on this, I believe, on Wednesday or Tuesday.
It'd be nice if they credited the people who did the.
It'd be nice, Midas Touch, if you attributed where you found that information, because I did spend an awful lot of time doing a lot of research on it. But let me tell you what was in my Substack, which I don't even think they touched on. but it's relevant because it's relevant to Trump's history. And it's relevant to connect the dots between his money troubles that were happening, his personal troubles that were happening, and what else he was doing with young girls at the same time that he was hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein in the early 90s. So if you recall, in the late 80s, and we saw those tax returns that the New York Times published during the first administration, he was having severe money troubles to the point where by 1990 or 1991, he was going through the first of his bankruptcies. It was the Trump Taj Mahal. And you mentioned how young girls were on the floor of the Trump Taj Mahal. I can vouch that when I was a senior in high school, 17 years old, I had a cousin visiting from abroad, and we were driving back from Washington, and she had no concept to New Jersey, and she had no concept whatsoever of New Jersey geography. And she said, "Isn't Atlantic City, New Jersey?" And I said, "Yes." "Oh my God, I've heard so much about Donald Trump. Could we go see one of his casinos?" I said, "Sure." We detour to Atlantic City. We go to the Trump Taj Mahal, and I walk right onto the floor of the casino. She was much older than I was, so she was over 21, so she gambled. And I gambled with her, and I was 17. So just to underscore what was happening at the Trump Taj Mahal and how little he cared about young girls. Anyway, we end up, so at this point, the Taj Mahal goes bankrupt, and then the Plaza goes bankrupt at the same time that he's going through this very painfully public divorce from Ivana. He's cheating on her with Marla, but he's kind of dating Marla, but he's not. It's just that Marla, and he got busted, and Ivana filed for divorce. They're going at each other all the time. At this point, he's spending all of his time hanging out with a guy named John Casablancas. John Casablancas was the owner of the Elite modeling agency. Elite was a pedophile ring. And it's not that I'm making this up. It is documented. You know how it's documented? By John Casablancas himself, who was using something called the Elite Look of the Year competition every year to bring in a bunch of girls from all over the world to compete to see which of them was going to be the next big thing. And he had people in his stable that he discovered, like Cindy Crawford, like Naomi Campbell, like Stephanie Seymour. And I bring Stephanie Seymour up to say that he met her when she was 14 years old. By 16, they were living together in New York City. 41, she was 16. He goes on record to magazines talking about how Stephanie Seymour was this great combination of little girl with sensual women type things, where he literally says something along the lines of, she had little girl hands, she had little girl feet, she had a little girl voice, but God, she had the sensual thing about her that made me think, I mean, like, I can go on, but it's disgusting. You want to throw up.
I think what you should do is that people should read your Substack. Yeah. Let's drive people to, because Julie does an unbelievable job of diving into the details of this. And then she put a lot of work into it for others to just kind of.
Anyway, the reason I say all this is because
go and read it.
Yeah, go read it. I'll drop it in. But what Trump does is Trump is hanging out with John Casablancas all the time. They're partying together on boats with young models, some as young as 14, talking about how they are absolutely terrified because this is their big chance. They're from small towns all over the world. Yeah. This is their one opportunity to be the next Cindy Crawford. And they are told by John Casablancas, if you want to win this thing, you got to dance for Donald Trump. You got to walk for Donald Trump. You got to get drunk and do drugs while we're all sitting here so that we could all basically do whatever. All of this is public. You know why it's public? Because back in the 90s, it was just okay. It was acceptable.
And there was no social media.
Yeah.
You could control the information a lot easier.
Well, it's not even that. They went on New York Magazine on the record talking about this. Trump did. All of them did. They thought it was hilarious. They thought it was great because at that point, Trump was this man about town. He was newly single. He couldn't give a rat's ass. And he was hanging out with a bunch of models. And so what if they looked if they were 14 or 15? At the same time as he's hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein in Florida. Why am I the only person writing Substacks about this? Why is this not on the front page of every single newspaper? It's not a one-off that he's hanging out with pedophiles. And by the way, if this were your husband or your father or your brother, and he's hanging out with 14-year-old girls who are being made to dance for him and being made to do God knows what else, wouldn't you start to ask questions about what the hell he's up to?
Of course, but I'll tell you why. The reason is because of what just happened with the Wall Street Journal. Because
Yeah.
they know these publications know that if they actually go down this road, that Trump is going to sue them and like
That's what he
cause problems.
does.
Let
Because
him.
that's what he does. He's a vexatious litigant. That's what he does. Now, if they're frivolous because he's a public figure, and you could, if you get the documentation and all of this, just like have it buttoned up the way the Wall Street Journal did, then you'll be fine. Rupert Murdoch happens to have enough money where he can say fuck off. You want to go to court, fine. But like most of these other places will not. And look at what ABC and CBS have done already for much lesser things. So that's why. But I think that leads us. I'm just going to transition us into this because of the time factor today, and I think it's important that we talk about this too. I think to Julie's point, it demonstrates how we have lost a certain amount of decency and a certain amount of what we would normally in normal times. I think as we've evolved as a country, we would say that this is unacceptable behavior. There would be no way in the world that we would tolerate this type of association, this type of behavior, the over-sexualization of young girls if we had a healthy moral society, which we really don't have anymore because Donald Trump and a lot of other factors over the years have contributed to the moral rot where you are rewarded for bad behavior, you're rewarded for exploiting women, and it's taken us back in ways that to a time that none of us want to go back to. But there was also a certain time in this country where childhood innocence was something that just being a kid and growing up and the simplicity of being a kid was something that we all treasured. And this week we saw Donald Trump's MAGA Republicans strip funding from PBS and NPR. And this has been a bee in the bonnet of these people, of the conservative movement for decades. And they finally got their wish. It's part of Project 2025. It was part of their checklist of this culture war because they think that Sesame Street and all of those shows and NPR is too woke, it's too liberal, and it's poisoning the minds of our children when it's actually quite the opposite.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Is just like
over to you, Michelle, so that you can tee it up.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to say that, Tara, you touched on if we lived in a moral society, right? Because this is the thing that these people are always preaching. They're talking about, their core Christian values and moral this and moral that, when these are the parts of the fabric of this country and our culture that have taught kindness and empathy and consideration for other human beings, and about how to do that while you also still love yourself. And and these messages were subliminal really throughout most of the things that we were watching on PBS as children. And these subliminal messages come through teaching us the alphabet or teaching us how to brush our teeth. There was always another hidden message in kindness and respect and a moral society that we were all trying to create together. Because what do you do when you want these things? You start at the ground level, teach children these values first, and hopefully they will hold on to them throughout our lives. And I think about Mr. Rogers especially, and how Mr. Rogers was that person for so many of us, along with Sesame Street. And Republicans voted in the middle of the night, 2:00 in the morning, to gut funding for public broadcasting system. And they knew they had to do it in the middle of the night because it's deeply unpopular. And I hope for many reasons that this is another example of the dog caught the car. And just so people know also that it goes beyond just, children's television programming and things like that. This is going to affect weather alert systems throughout local radio stations, NPR, throughout the country. People are going to be very deeply affected about this with their safety beyond just the cultural ramifications. But, back in the late 60s, Mr. Rogers, he knew that PBS funding was on the chopping block, much like it was now. And he sat before the Senate and he argued the value of making this investment into children's education. And so I was thinking about that a lot the last couple days. So I decided to start going through the clips and trying to figure out some sort of video. I was like, maybe we can make something. So I did. And I made this over the last 2 days. I wrote it and edited it by myself, and it's my voice. And I just think it's a valuable story that needs to be told. And
Yes.
if you guys are cool, then I'll just play it right now.
Yeah, let's play it. And guys, I just want to prepare you that it's a little long, but it's worth the watch. It's worth the watch, and be prepared because this is a masterpiece.
That's very kind. All right, here we go.
In the late 1960s, America faced unrest and division. But even then, some things still mattered, like protecting children and the stories that shaped them. PBS funding was on the chopping block. One man stood up to defend it. On May 1st, 1969, Mr. Rogers spoke directly to U.S. Senator John Pastore, who had never seen his show.
And I'm proud
But that day,
to present Mr. Rogers to you now. Go ahead.
All right, Rogers, you got the floor.
something broke through.
I'm very much concerned, as I know you are, about what's being delivered to our children in this country. We deal with such things as getting a haircut, or the feelings about brothers and sisters, and the kind of anger that arises in simple family situations. This is what I give. I give an expression of care every day to each child to help him realize that he is unique. I end the program by saying, you've made this day a special day by just your being you. There's no person in the whole world like you, and I like you just the way you are. And I feel that if we in public television can only make it clear that feelings are mentionable and manageable, we will have done a great service for mental health.
Do you narrate it?
I'm the host, yes, and I do all the puppets, and I write all the music, and I write all the script.
Well, I'm supposed to be a pretty tough guy, and this is the first time I've had goosebumps for the last 2 days.
Could I tell you the words of one of the songs which I feel is very important?
Yes.
And it starts out, what do you do with the mad that you feel? And that first line came straight from a child. What do you do with the mad that you feel when you feel so mad you could bite? When the whole wide world seems oh so wrong, and nothing you do seems very right. It's great to be able to stop when you've planned a thing that's wrong, and be able to do something else instead, and think this song. I can stop when I want to, can stop when I wish, can stop, 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 anytime. And what a good feeling to feel like this, and know that the feeling is really mine. Know that there's something deep inside that helps us become what we can. For a girl can be someday a lady, and a boy can be someday a man.
I think it's wonderful. I think it's wonderful. Looks like you just earned the $20 million.
55 years later, Republicans voted in the middle of the night to gut PBS children's programming. Not because we can't afford it, but because they've forgotten what really matters. Fred Rogers didn't just defend public television. He defended our childhoods and the soul of this nation. And in the end, kindness won the day. What happened to the country that raised us on Mr. Rogers and Sesame Street? And what do we do with the mad that we feel when they rip away our magic?
Love is at the root of everything. All learning, all parenting, all relationships. love or the lack of it.
It's great, Michelle. I mean, you said it all. You said it all. And
This is what we do. And this is where Michelle and her heart that she wears on her sleeve all the time shines through in a way that connects with so many people. And being storytellers in this moment and being able to communicate that in a way that is relatable is the secret sauce of what makes the Seneca Project different and what makes us unique in this moment and what makes us what we're doing so important. I secretly last night sent this to Joe because I knew that she would have a reaction to this and I wanted to see. And Joe called me blubbering at 12 o'clock last night, ugly, crying, like, I couldn't. I mean, and I said I knew that was gonna be the reaction, because how could you not feel this? It takes us, and I don't even know, Michelle, if you realized when you did this that the reaction would be something that took us back to a time. It's like it brings us back to why we all fight for this country, because we are desperately missing that level of connection, that kindness, that decency, and fighting and being strong doesn't mean having a heart doesn't mean that you're weak. Being kind doesn't mean that you're weak. There's strength in being decent. And America used to represent that. And Donald Trump and MAGA has flipped that on its head, where the cruelty is the point, where the viciousness and the depravity is overtaking. And we're like, no, we're not going to accept that that's the path that this country's going to go down. So kudos to you, Michelle, for having the wherewithal and the passion and the instinct to make this, because it's something that anyone who's under 60 grew up watching, and it brings us back to a time where childhood was, like I said it before, something that was an innocence and a happy time, and that we could go to that place and we were okay with that. And if you're over 60, you were the parent of a child that sat there and you knew that it was okay. You didn't have to worry about them watching Sesame Street or Mr. Rogers or Electric Company or whatever, because you felt good with it. We all have those memories, all of us. And to feel like MAGA is coming for that and trying to cancel that, I think this is the type of stuff that rallies people, because we want to fight for leaving a childhood for our kids like that, and not like what Donald Trump is doing.
And it's not just Mr. Rogers, who's been gone for a long time now. And Joe, I don't know when your kids were growing up, my son used to watch Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood.
Oh, we love Daniel Tiger. Oh, Daniel Tiger is Mr. Rogers. Yeah.
Yeah, this was Mr. Rogers, but the cartoon version, and it was about a tiger and not so much, obviously, a reality of a real person. And you're absolutely right. There goes my dog. But you're absolutely right that I could stick him in front of Daniel Tiger and not worry about it. And it taught him how to, go to the bathroom when he needed to. Like I was trying to teach him, but it was really reinforcing it at the time. It was doing all sorts of things that I think as parents, like it was just a helper. I don't know how else to describe it. And that's not the kind of stuff that you get in commercial television, because in commercial television, it's more salacious, and Nickelodeon's not the same.
No.
And I didn't have there's a science show with these two guys who completely, the name escapes me right now, that he was so into, but like he learned about science, he learned about animals, and that stuff is happening right. Wildcrafts, I think is what it was called.
Yeah.
And like he learned more about science and animals watching those shows that he learned in preschool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And probably even in elementary school. And it's a nominal, it's a rounding error. It's nothing. And so I think PBS is going to make up for it for people like us who are going to cancel Paramount and give all our money to PBS.
So.
Yeah. hope so.
Yeah,
If we
I
can
already
buy-
give $5 a month, and I'll probably,
Yeah.
I mean,
I
and
don't need
$5 is a lot to a lot of people, and and obviously these little things add up, but we invest in the things that matter to us. We pay for the things that matter to us.
Yeah.
And if this
Here's-
matters to you, I hope that you will too.
Here's why I think for me that video, sorry, it hits me hard. It's bigger than PBS, right? Yes, it's about PBS, but I think why it hits me so hard is because I think we're all feeling this, right? Like we're all feeling this constant, never-ending tsunami of hate and cruelty and sadness and disconnect, and our innocence and our children's innocence is being stripped away from all of us, but from our country, and we're I think for me, I always feel under this constant weight, and I just, until someone names it, it's hard to recognize what's missing or what you're feeling. And when you put it in a format like that, and you use someone like Mr. Rogers, and you use those images that so many of us grew up with, that put into our brains this subconscious understanding of community and connectedness and love, and inclusion, and you put it in a video like that, it speaks to your soul in a way that nothing else can, because it's so visual, but it's so simple.
Yeah.
And I think like what Donald Trump and Republicans so very much want to do when they tell us that they hate Democrats, when they tell us that we'll get over people dying because they've been stripped of their health care, or that we're all going to die because the people die and who cares what happens to you. Like, they are constantly feeding us this bullshit that we're supposed to believe, that pulls us apart and isolates us. And that's how they take more power. And like, we all feel it. It gets in there, whether or not we are acknowledging it every single day. Like, so we are so engaged, and everyone in this chat, or whether it's, just little weird things that happen in society. Like, I watched, literally, I'm sorry, quick segue. I watched a guy in a Porsche SUV drive over the sidewalk at the movie theater because he didn't want to wait in line at the light. And it's like these weird things, right? These fundamental breakdowns in a society that is pulled apart and pulled away from their decency, from their humanity, from their connection to each other. But Michelle, I want to tell you, I felt your heart in this video. And I think what we're seeing in the chat, and I know you guys, I'm such an ugly crier, I'm sorry, but what we see in the chat is so many people who feel the same way. Like, you gave a name to something that some of us couldn't even articulate. And I'm so inspired by it. I was telling Tara last night, I was going to write about all of this on my Substack today, but then she sent me that video, and I was like, oh my God, now the video is the inspiration for so much of this. And I'm going to put it on my Substack, and I'm going to link it and fundraising things, because this is what Seneca does, you guys. This is what makes them so different and so unique. This is what American Girl did. This is what their ads do. This is what's different. This is their hearts, and this is their love for what we can be. And so I am so proud to know you guys, and I'm so incredibly impressed by this. Like, an amazing job. But thank you for sharing it with me, because it's so
amen to all of that. And I will also put it on my Substack. And it is something, Michelle, you're absolutely right. Joe just said you gave voice to, I think you're right. It's not just about PBS. You gave voice to what I think a lot of us, the sorrow that all of us are feeling. This sorrow. It feels like
that's perfectly, that's the word, sorrow.
Yeah, that somebody just died. Something just died. It's like this passage of an era that will never, maybe something different in a good way will show up one day, but it's not going to be that.
It'll never be the same.
It'll never be the same. We have
broken. And last night when I was trying to, I was like, you know what, let me layer in some clips of Sesame Street, and I was trying to find one. I was like, oh, was Mr. Rogers ever on Sesame Street? And I found that video of Mr. Rogers hugging Big Bird, and then I sat there and watched this clip of Ernie trying to bother Bert while he was reading to get him to come up and play tag with him. And I was cackling, laughing. I was like, what does it say that 40 years later, laughing at the same stuff. And yes, a lot of it's nostalgia. And there's a great quote from Mad Men that says, "Nostalgia, I forget exactly what it is. It's potent, right? Delicate. This is it. Nostalgia. It's delicate but potent." And yes, it's nostalgia, but it's also just the timelessness of these wonderful shows, this wonderful programming, and while you may be able to feel my heart and the way that I feel about these things through the things that we create, but Sesame Street, you can feel the hearts of the people who made that. I mean, Jim Henson, Mr. Rogers, these are people who care deeply, again, about the country. They care deeply about the issues, so much so that they immerse themselves in the world of educating children through creativity and through television. Television, which was at the time still a relatively new medium. And this is the way that they reached us, and I am grateful for all of the things that came from PBS, because I really do believe that, at least for me, it was the ground floor of making me into the person that I am now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think all of it touches all of us, and there's very few things that anymore that like everyone can relate to.
Yeah.
And even for me as a kid, like Michelle and I don't have children, but yet we still feel this and that sorrow that other children won't have it. And it's like, and for us.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna, as somebody there was a something up about Rainbow Connection.
Yeah.
And
Lavar.
It's one of my favorite songs, and I actually danced with my father to it at my wedding.
Yeah, see what I mean? Like if there's the Muppets and Sesame Street, like my longest friend, shout out to David Bauer from Paramus, New Jersey. We walked to school together, and from first grade, we got on the bus together on our first day of school, walked to school together in 6th grade. And when we used to walk, we used to sing Muppet songs. We used to sing Rainbow Connection. We would like all of us. I mean, that was all of those things were so important to us because it was just part of who we were as kids. My mom, as a single parent, one of the funniest things my mom would do was when I was little, she would sing the song, "My name is Fred. They call me Fred. And when I go to sleep, I lay down in my boom, 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 boom." Remember that? And I thought it was the funniest thing ever. She would put me on her stomach and I would play around with it. And like she would like sing it to me, and we would like anticipate what the next word was going to be. And I thought it was the funniest thing ever. I am going to be 50 years old in September. And if I could sing that with my mom right now, it will remind me of us growing up together, Now I'm crying.
And I want to just say this really quick, because I have been, this isn't about me, but I don't think anyone should feel bad about feeling emotional about this stuff, to Mr. Rogers' point, right? But also, I have been ridiculed in my life for being someone who feels, and for someone who emotes and is emotional at times. And I've been ridiculed, and I have been put down for it in some of the places that I've worked. But I have never shied away from it, because I think I don't know. I've never shied away from it because I think it
is the best part of you, Michelle. And there are so many good parts of you, but it is the best part of you. Your empathy, your ability to be vulnerable, your ability to not put up barriers. It is you are the heart. You are the heart of all of us. You really are. And this ad just shows it to everybody who doesn't know you personally the way the three of us do. But like, that's you. That ad is all you. It is all your heart. And I just want people to understand that all of us feel this way, and we all express it differently. But the reality is, when you have MAGA out there telling us to cry harder,
exactly.
That's not an insult to cry harder. We are crying.
Right. Liberal tears, like the mugs of liberal tears. Like, They're just mean. They're mean. They're mean people, and they want to make the rest of us mean. And I think by holding on to these things and reminding each other, we are reminded that this world is actually a lot better than they tell us that it is.
Yeah.
That and I want to, and I think this ties it all together. I think, Michelle, going back to your original question in that video about what do you do with the mad inside, like that's the moment we are in, right? It is the moment we are facing. It is the fight that we are embattled in, because what we do with the mad inside is this. We try to elevate and literally lift all boats. We try to clarify and communicate. And what we are up against is what some people want to do with the mad inside, which is to destroy and to dismantle and to tear down. And there was no reason, no financial reason that they needed to defund PBS and NPR. It was about retribution. It was about sound bites.
Owning the libs.
It was about hurting people, where it was about hurting people in a way that they knew would hurt. So it was intentional. And again, so often the cruelty is the point. So the fundamental question, what I want to write about today, is what do we do with the mad inside? Because we have to find our Mr. Rogers to help us navigate this moment, because we do not want to lean into what they want us to lean into, which is to take the mad inside and turn it into protracted anger and and disconnection. And so thank you for that question, because for me, that really is the intersection of everything that we ever try to do, which is to steer things in a productive manner to getting out of the darkness and making this little experiment of ours actually working towards perfecting it. So I just wanted to say that.
No, thank you, Joe. And Mr. Rogers told us to look for the helpers.
Yeah.
When things are bad, when we're in trouble, look for the helpers. And he taught us to be helpers, and we're the helpers now. And it's a big responsibility to have, but I think the four of us here are proud and invigorated to be the helpers, and try to help people also find community in this dark time.
Yeah, and not to lean in to what they're trying to make us into, which is just two armed camps that don't share any humanity. They don't think that they have anything in common with us. They forgot that we are all human. And that, yes, in fact, as Mr. Rogers said, everybody gets a haircut. The hairdresser doesn't ask you if you're a Republican or a Democrat. You just get a haircut. And all these kids have the same phobias. I don't care if their parents are the biggest Trumpers in the world or their parents are the four of us. It doesn't matter. And the problem is that they're trying to create this world where they don't see the shared and common humanity that we all have. And PBS is that. PBS is not political, but what PBS is also not propaganda for them.
Yeah.
That's why they want to get rid of it, because when there are
why they call it propaganda. They try to put that label on it.
When there are news deserts, as there are going to be, Michelle, in your neck of the woods, because I know that you have a very strong NPR culture up in northern New York, where you're from. That when you have in rural areas, no more NPR, no more PBS, that can be filled by their podcasts, their propaganda. They are trying to strip these areas of anything that is not their propaganda. And that's why they're gaslighting, saying it is propaganda on the liberal side. I don't think it's liberal to have empathy, which is what PBS is children.
Right.
I don't think it's liberal for Ken Burns to do a whole show about the Civil War, talking about the fact that the Civil War was not so much about states' rights and who got to keep what kind of property for Sumter. It was about slavery. They don't want that out there. They're trying to rewrite reality. And NPR is reality. I don't think Margaret Hoover, who hosts Firing Line on PBS, is a blazing heart liberal. In fact, she's a conservative. She's just not the kind of conservative that they like, because she's not a MAGA conservative. And that's
Mr. Rogers was a registered Republican, just so everybody knows. Mr. Rogers was a registered Republican.
Yep.
Well, he embodied what the George Bush Republicans,
Right.
Compassionate conservatism. That used to be a thing. That was the wing of the Republican Party that drew me into Republicanism, and why I stayed for as long as I did, because I actually believed in that. And then that's why I had such a visceral reaction to Donald Trump when he came in to try to act as though he was a Republican. And I was like, wait a minute, that's not who we are. At least that's not who we said we were supposed to be. That's not what we preached for all those years. Like, what are you talking about? And why I eventually left, because I said there's no room for that anymore. And it's gone. And it's not only is it gone, it's warped into this perverted, disgusting, contemptible authoritarianism that's actually a death cult. And so as we wrap up today, I just want to say that, this is exactly why we fight. This is exactly what motivates us. This is exactly why we're not going to let MAGA take these things away and then replace it with their ilk, because that's what they want to do. They're not just taking it away. They're taking it away and then replacing it with their ilk and their propaganda, as if that's the way that's the way they want our country to go. And that's the key part about this that I feel like Democrats and other people need to understand. It's not just taking away, they're replacing it with their stuff. So we have to counter it and say no. One of the things that conservatives used to say, and that came from Bill Buckley, who has a troubled history, but he did say some good things. And one of the things was that the role of conservatives was supposed to be yelling, "Stop with history," when no one else would. Well, now it's time for us to say stop when no one else will, to make sure that their insidious plan doesn't take hold and then we lose it altogether. And I will end on this. Mr. Rogers also said it's not so much what we have in this lifetime that matters, it's what we do with what we have. And I think all of us embody that every single day, not just us, but people in this community as well, that those are words for us to live by as we approach this fight every single day. So on that note, thank you everybody for watching us and hanging out with us this morning, getting a good cry, getting in. Michelle, actually, she made it through. Michelle is on her way upstate New York, which is why she's driving. And we were holding on. I was hoping that we would keep her so that we got this part in. And what perfect timing right now as the show ends. Great job. We love you guys. Michelle, thank you again for your genius and your heart. And there you are. You're back. Enough.
Sorry, I went into a little black hole of internet.
Because like we were holding our breath the whole time that you were gonna I was like,
oh no,
in a somewhere.
I know. I've been pretty good so far, but I did want to just say that people have been asking in the chat where you can watch that. We haven't posted it yet because we wanted this audience here that joins us on Saturday mornings to see it first. So just know that you all have seen this first before anyone else. As soon as we hang up from this, I'm gonna push it to go live. Well, except for Joe. I'm gonna push it. I'm gonna push it live on YouTube as soon as we finish the show, and we'll post it across platforms as well. We'll post the YouTube link on.
Yes, and just to finish Michelle's sentence, because she's cutting in and out, that please share it. Please like, subscribe, and share it, because that's how people get the information. That's how the algorithm places it to other folks. So please, please, please share it with everyone you know, and let's go.
And one more thing, Midas Touch, stop stealing our shit without attribution. That's all I say. I called it out. Enough.
Where's the lie? That's all. That's all.
I meant to that. Also, look for. I told you guys earlier. I was so inspired by the video that I'm gonna write about it, like I did with American Girl. It'll be on my Substack, so the video will be there too, and the link to fundraising for Seneca Project. Please, if we put your money and what you value, and the Seneca Project is doing that. Please donate, guys. We need more voices like theirs. We need them to go everywhere. We need them super viral all the time. That's how we move the needle. So I just want to say that.
Thank you, Joe. We appreciate you guys, and have a happy Saturday. We'll see you all on Wednesday for Over It, Thursday for the Stakes, and we'll see you next weekend for Coffee and Conversation. Have a great weekend, guys.
Bye.
Bye.